Hey everyone, I'm Umesh Rana and welcome back to the Programming Fields. In our Laravel 12 and React CRUD series, we already built a complete CRUD system for product management using Laravel 12 plus React plus Inertia.js. But this was based on regular page views, meaning every create or edit action opened a new screen. If I'll click on add product, this will open a new page. And also for managing the view and edit operation, again this is opening a new page. But here we created a single component in order to manage the create, view and update functionality, and we had reused this component for managing these all operations. But now in the today's video, we are taking it to the next level and we will rebuild the CRUD operations for category management but using a pop-up model instead of full page views. And by the end of this video, you will also learn how to create and reuse model for component. Also, we will show dynamic toast notification using the ShadCN UI component, and we will handle form logic cleanly using Inertia and React. So this tutorial is beginner friendly and perfect for anyone looking to write reusable and scalable UI logic with Laravel and React.js. But before moving ahead, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe and hit that like button. And also don't forget to share this video with your fellow developers. So let's quickly jump to the practical part. So today we are going to create a CRUD operations for category management. So here I'll just add one more menu inside this sidebar component. So I'll quickly jump to the code editor. So inside resources, JS, we have the React.js components here. Inside this, we have the app sidebar component. So let's navigate to this. And here, after this manage products, I will add one more menu, and this will be for manage categories. And I will set href to /categories. And regarding the icons, I will set this to file text. Okay, this is done. Now if we'll jump to the browser and if we'll refresh, yes, we have the manage categories option added. Now for managing the redirection, I will create one controller. So I'll jump to the terminal and here I will just create model, migration and controller together. So I will type PHP artisan make model and I will pass the model name as category. Also along with this, I will pass the flag as -m for migration, C for controller and R for resource. So this controller will have resource methods. Let's hit enter. And yes, these all three files have been created here. I will navigate to the code editor and firstly we'll update the migrations. So inside the migration, I will specify the field name just like category name. Okay, and by default this will be nullable. Also I will add slug. Next I will add description and image. Okay, now regarding the description, I will set this to text. Alright, so as of now I will go with these fields only. We have category name, category slug, description, and there will be category image. So this is done. Now respective to this migration, I will jump to the model. So inside the category model, I will add fillable property. So I will just define protected $fillable, and inside this fillable, I will add these fields. Okay. So this is done. Now let's come to the terminal again and let's migrate this. So I will add PHP artisan migrate command here. And yes, the categories migration has been executed. Now I will add route. So I'll navigate to the routes folder. And here we have the web.php. So just similar to this products route, I will add one more route as categories. And this will call category controller. I will import this class. Okay, this is done. Let me close this Now in the next step, I will create a few components in order to manage the category CRUD operations. So firstly, I will navigate to resources folder. Inside resources JS, we have pages folder. Here I'll just create one more folder as categories. Inside this, firstly I'll create one index component. This will be index.tsx, and let's define the function component. So I'll just export const index, okay, and I will write return this div, and we have added this categories title and description. Okay, this is fine. Now I will render this component from the controller. So I'll navigate to HTTP controllers, category controller, and from this index function I will just use return inertia render function, and inside this render function I will pass that view, that is categories slash index. This is done. Let's import this inertia. Okay, and also we can call the model in order to fetch all the categories data. So what I will do here, I will pass one props data in the form of arrays, just like categories, and here I'll just paginate this using category paginate 10 with query string. Okay, this is already imported. Now let's come to the browser, and here if we'll try to click on manage categories, yes, we have redirected on this route, and currently we have this blank page. So firstly, let's add the layout of this category index page, in which we will have this sidebar layout and top bar and also the content section. So I will navigate to the resources JS and pages, and here we have this products. Inside this we already added this index component. So I'll just copy this entire layout, and here inside the category index component I will paste it. I will scroll to top, and I will update few things here, just like this is breadcrumbs. So I will change this to manage categories, and this href will be slash categories. All right, and if we'll scroll down here, firstly I'll just remove this alert component, this search things, and I will change this title to add category, and also we'll have to change the props type, whatever we have added as a products. So instead of products, now we are getting categories from this category controller, and respectively we will have to update the props types inside the categories. So for the categories we will have the category pagination, so I will just define it to category pagination, and I will change this here, and we will have to pass this categories inside the custom table component because we have used custom table. This is done, and also we will have to remove this data. So I will just remove this search data, this is not needed now, this use effect, this alert, and this handle change as well. Let's do a cleanup. All right, and firstly I'll remove this entire pagination component, because in this video I'm not going to focus on the pagination part that we have already covered in the last video, and these all props. Okay, this is done. Now let's navigate to the browser, and yes, this component has been rendered here. We have the title as manage categories, we have this button as add category, and this table column is rendering from this previous component, that is product table configuration. So for rendering this table dynamically, again we will create some data set. So inside the config folder, I will create one more config file inside this tables folder, and this will be like category table.ts, and simply I'll navigate to this product table.typescript and I will copy this entire JSON data. I will come to this category table and I will paste it here. Now I will change this name to category table config, and we have the columns like category name, description, and we don't have this price, we have the image, and this will be simple image. Let's skip this created date and actions. Okay, this is done. Now I will navigate to the index component of this category management. Inside this, we will have to import that category table configuration, and this will be imported from this category table. Okay, now we will have to replace all the product table config from this config. This is done. If we'll come to the browser, and yes, the header columns have been changed. Now we have to work on the add category first. So what I want, when I'll click on this add category, this should open a pop-up. Currently this will be navigating on a separate route, that is product/create, and this is opening that product form. But instead of opening a form in a separate view, I just want to open a pop-up. Okay, and that we will call our ShadCN UI component. So firstly I'll navigate to ShadCN UI and let's navigate to this official documentation. Inside the components, we have the dialog component. So if we'll navigate to this dialog, we have this dialog component here, and here we have the preview. So if we'll try to click on edit profile, this will open this dialog. So here this has provided this code. If we'll click on this code section, we have this entire code. Alright. So what I want, firstly I just want to create a common component for rendering that dialog, that means pop-up, in which we will have some set of form fields. So inside the components, I will create one component name, that is custom modal form dot tsx. Okay, and I will navigate to the documentation again. I'll just copy this entire snippet from here. I will navigate to the code, and inside this component I will paste that. Okay, I will change this function to export const custom modal form. Alright, now we have to call this component inside this index component. So I'll navigate to index component, and here I will remove this entire section. This is not needed now. Here we will call our custom modal form component. Okay, so I'll simply call custom modal form from components. This is done. Now if we'll navigate to the browser, here we have the edit profile button. Okay, and if we'll try to click on this, yes, that dialog model has been triggered. So here we have to create a form, but firstly let's handle this edit profile layout. So I just want to show this edit profile button here at the right corner, and I will change that button title as well. So firstly I will just wrap this entire model into one div, that is class name as MLAuto, and if we'll check, yes, this button is at the top right corner. Now for managing this button text and this model plus this form, I just want to create one dynamic form data. So that we already saw in our previous video, and this will be similar to this category header. So in the same way, I will create one more data set inside config folder. I will create one more folder as forms, and inside these forms I will create one more file as category modal form.ts. Okay, inside this I will export const category model form config. Now inside this I will add few properties like module title. Firstly I will add module title, and this will be manage categories. I will add title, and this will be like create category. Also I will add description, just like fill in the details below to create a new category. Okay, let me dock this window first. Firstly I need button, so this button will be just for this edit profile. Here I just want to render that button text and behavior like classes. So I just want to create one dynamic button here. So I will just create one object as add button. Inside this will be like label add category. I will add id as add category. Class name, this will be like bg blue. Okay, this is perfect. And also I will add cursor pointer. Next I will add icon. So here I just want to render the icon as circle plus, and this will be from lucid icon. So this will be circle plus, and also we will have to add button type property, and this will be button. Next we will add variant, and I will set this to default. Okay, now in the next step I will create one array for the fields. Okay, because we have to render multiple input fields inside the model. So inside the fields array I will create one object, and firstly I will start from name property. So we will have field name like category name. Also we can add id as category name. Next I will add label category name. Type will be text. Placeholder we will add autocomplete, and this I will set to the current name. So for the name I will just keep it name, because in the model we have the field like name only. So this autocomplete will be name. Also I will add tab index. This will be first, and this is our first input. So I will set auto focus to true. Regarding the validation, we don't have to set anything from here because Inertia.js will handle it from server side only. And also we'll add key property as key. This will be name. So this will be helpful for rendering the data. Now similar to this, I'll replicate for others. Next we have description. Label will be description, and this type will be text area. Category description. Autocomplete will be description. Tab index will be 2, and this autofocus is not needed for every input. We can add row, and I will set this to 3. And next we have to add object for the category image. All right, so this will be category image. This label will be image, and this will be optional, so I will set it here. This type will be file. We don't need placeholder, and this will accept image only, so this is fine. So we have these form fields ready. Now regarding the buttons, I will come to this later. Firstly, let's render this model fields. So inside the index component, at the top we will have to import that category model form config. So I will import category model form config from this category model form, and I'll copy it, and inside this custom model form I will pass the props just like button text. So firstly, we have add button that we saw here for triggering this modal dialog. So I will just define the props as add button, and this I will pass it from category modal form config dot add button. Now we will have to define the props type inside the custom modal form component. So let's capture that add button, and here I will just define the props. So I will specify custom modal form props. Let's copy this and let's define one interface for this prop types. Inside this we have to define add button object, and this is containing multiple attributes. If we'll check, we have id, label, class name, icon, type and variant. So I'll copy these all. I will navigate to this, and here I will define one more property as add button props, just like this. And let's define this add button props object. Okay, inside this I will paste those all property first, and let's start with the id. So this id is a string, label we have string, class name again this will be string. Regarding the icon, I will set this to string, and this type will be button, submit, reset and undefined as well. Now regarding the variant, we will have variant as default, ghost. So this is done. Now we will render this button here. So this is our dialog trigger. This will open the model. Here I'll just change the title to add button dot label, and regarding the variant, I will pass the variant from add button dot variant. I will pass the class name as add button dot class name, and let's add other properties like type. This type will be add button dot type. We have the id, add button dot id, and let's add the icon as well. So regarding the icon, firstly we'll check if we have add button dot icon, then I will call this as a component. So I will just write add button dot icon, just like this. I will come to the browser, and yes, we have this add category with this plus icon, and we can change this background color from here. We have this bg blue. So instead of this bg blue, I will set this to bg indigo to 800, and this will be bg indigo 700. Yes, this is perfect. Now if we'll click on this add category, we have to render the form data here in order to create the dynamic form. So let's update this. So inside the model form, we have this dialog header and we have this edit profile. This is static title, and firstly I'll just remove this class name that is defined as a width. So I'll just remove this. This is our dialog content, and here I will just render the title. So we have already defined title here as create category, and for this we will have to receive a props here, title, description. Let's pass it from this index. After add button, we have next props as title. This will be category modal form config dot title description, category modal form dot description. Okay, let's capture it here, title. So we'll define the props type as title. This will be string, description, again this will be string. Now just render this title here and this description. Okay, now if we'll check, yes, we have this create category title coming dynamically and this description as well. Now next we have to render the form fields. So I'll just come to the form section and here we have to render the form fields. Okay, so firstly I'll just comment these static fields and here we have to capture the form fields. So firstly we'll receive the props as fields. Here we will have to define the fields as fields props as an array, and we will have to define this field props here. Okay, and regarding the properties, I'll just copy it from this form itself. So I'll copy it and I will paste it inside this. This ID will be string, key we have string, name this will be string, label again this will be string, type string, placeholder will be string again, autocomplete again this will be string, this tab index will be number, this autofocus will be boolean, and this will be optional because this is not available in all the input fields. Okay, and also we have rows, again this is optional and this will be number. Now regarding the image we have accept property, so let's define this as accept, and again this will be optional and this will be type of string. This is done. Now we have to pass the props as fields from this index component. This will be category form config.fields. Okay, this is done. And here this placeholder is optional again, this autocomplete as well, because these are not available for image. Alright, so this is done. Now we will have to render this property. So let's render this fields here. So I will just use fields dot map and this will have field. Okay, now inside this field just I will add this div. So I will just copy this div and I will paste it here. This will be like input wrapper here, and here I'll just change this to grid gap 2, and for the top I'll change this to gap 6 only, padding is not needed. Now inside this I will just create one label, so I'll copy this, I will add it here, and regarding the label name I will just capture it from field dot label property, and this will be HTML4, and here I'll just pass the field dot id. We don't need this class, so I'll just remove this. Also I will add key here, this will be field dot key. Now here if you'll check, these labels are rendered. Now alongside this label we have to render the input fields. So we have different type of input fields as per the data. We have text, we have the text area, and we have the file, right? Further we can have radio button or drop down or multi-select, anything. So based on our input type we will have to add the condition in order to render the input fields. Okay, so firstly I will just check if field dot type is equals to text area. We have text area, right, this one. If it is there, then I will render text area component just like this. and inside this we will have to add properties like id, and this I will fetch it from field.id, name, placeholder, rows. Let's check the properties. We have this autocomplete, field.autocomplete, we have id, name, placeholder, tab index, and this will be from field.tab index. Now in the else if part, if it is not text area, then I will check if field.type is equals to file. Okay, so next we have the file input just for the image. So for this I will render the input component provided by UI input. This is inbuilt, and let's add the properties like id, name, field name except autocomplete. So autocomplete is not needed as per the properties. We have the id, name type except, and tab index. And lastly we have else part. For the else part I will simply render the input for rendering all the normal input fields. Inside this we have the field id, name, type, placeholder, autocomplete, tab index, and autofocus as well. This is done. Let's save, come to the browser, and yes, the input fields are rendered, but for this text area the class is not rendering properly, so I will just pass the dynamic class here. So firstly I will just pass the class name property here, and this will be from field dot class name, and let's add the class name here inside the description. So I will add rounded and border, padding 2 and width full. This is done. Let's copy this property, and we will have to specify the class name here inside the field props. Class name, this will be optional and string. This is done. Let's check this is visible properly. So the form is rendered. Now we have to work on the buttons. So this button will be dynamic again. So I'll come to the code, and here I will define one more array for the buttons after this fields array. So I will add buttons. This will be array. Inside this we will have two types of button. One will be for submit and another will be for cancel. So the first will be type, this will be button, label will be cancel. I will add the class name, and this variant will be ghost. We have the ghost variant of the buttons here, and now we will have the next button as type submit. This label will be save category, variant will be default, and also we can add cursor pointer class. That's all. We can add key property as well. Key will be submit, and for this key will be cancel. This is done. Now we will just pass this button props from this index. So we will have this buttons equals category form config dot buttons. Let's capture this. Inside this we have the buttons, and here let's define the button props. This will be again array. Let's define this button props interface. Okay, we have the following properties. That's all. We have the key, type, label, variant, and class name. Now let's render this buttons array after this. we'll have to remove this. This is not needed now. So inside the dialog footer, I will just render that button. So I will map it buttons dot map, and we will have this button. Okay, and we have two types of button. This is done, and if we'll check, yes, we have the cancel and save category button. For the cancel, I'll just remove these all classes. Only I'll keep the cursor pointer. Yes, this is perfect. And regarding this cancel button, this should close this pop-up. So we will have to wrap it inside dialog close component. So inside the dialog footer, we don't have that. So what I will do, firstly I'll just check if button type is cancel, then I will wrap that into dialog close component. So we will have the component as dialog close, and this will have this key. I'll just close this, and here I'll just add one if condition. If button dot key is equals to cancel, then I will have to render this dialog close, and I will just copy this button. I will keep it inside this, and for the else part, I will just render this button, and let's fix this. And here instead of this parenthesis, I will use this as curly bracket, just like this. And here I will just add if condition, just like this. And this will be like if button dot key is equals to cancel. Okay, then I will return, and I will just move this dialog close inside this, and further I will use else if button dot key is equals to submit, just like this. Then again I will return this normal button. So we'll have to close it here. Let's close this, and let's check this first where we have missed anything. We have this dialog button. This button is closed here. Thereafter we have this dialog close, and we have this return syntax. Further we have this if closed. Now next we have this else if, that is correct, and inside this else if we have this return statement. Inside this return we have this button. This button has been closed, and we have this return closed, and this curly bracket closed. Now we need one more curly bracket, and this parenthesis, and one more curly bracket. That's all. Okay, now if we'll come to the browser, yes, this is rendering properly, and if we'll click on cancel, yes, that model has been closed, right? Also from this close arrow, if we'll click on this, yes, this is closing properly. Now we have to work on the submit handler. So whenever I'll click on this save category, we'll have to submit this form. So for this, we will be using React use form hook. So let's navigate to the code. And regarding the submit handler, we will be handling it from the index component itself, because this model component will be reusable. So inside the index component, here I'll just import const data, set data, error, processing, reset, and post from use form hook. Okay, and inside this use form, we will have to define the set of fields that we want to handle it inside form. And firstly, let's import this use form from this inertia. Okay, So in the form we have the fields like name, description and image. So this image will be type of file, so I will just specify this null and as a file, else it will be null. This is done. Now we have to pass the data attribute, that means this data property, in order to bind the input fields for the model form. So I will just pass the data, and also we have to pass the set data. Okay, and let's pass the errors as well and processing. So now regarding the data, let's bind the data here, just like data. We will have the set data, we will have the processing. So let's define the type here, data, set data and processing. Regarding the data, I will set this to string and this will be type of any. And for the set data, we will have to change the properties, just like we have to set key and that value. So I will set name and this will be type of string, and value and this will be type of any. Now let's bind this data and set data attribute here. So firstly, I will define onChange event, and onChange I will just set data as field.name and that value will be event.target.value, and I will set value property from that data field.name, just like this. Let's copy these two and add it for others for the file input as well. Okay, and next we have to handle the submit function. So what we will have to do, we will have to receive one more props as handle submit. Let's define that handle submit, and inside this we'll pass the data of type any and this will return void. Now let's copy this handle submit and let's pass it from this props handle submit equals to handle submit. Now let's define this handle submit event here. Okay, and I will just console form data as data. And in order to make working to this handle submit, we have to keep our input fields in the form tag. So here I will just open the form element, and on submit I will just call that handle submit function. Okay, and this will be closed after this loop here, and we'll add class name as space y4. Let's check. Let's open the console. Let's click on add category. Here we have the console error. So this error is representing that the input field should not be null, either it should be empty string. So in the input fields, we will have to set value to null if it is not there. Okay, for the input type file we won't have the value. Here we'll have to set this to empty string. Now if we'll refresh and if we'll click on add category, and here this said in HTML button cannot be a descendant of button. So this is representing to the model button, that is close. So what we will have to do here, for opening this model we have the dialog trigger as child, and for closing the model again we will have to add as child. Let's come to the browser and let's refresh. Let's click on add category. Yes, that error has gone now. Now if we try to submit, the submit is not working. So let's check the code. Okay, we have closed this form just before this submit button. So what we will have to do, we will have to just cut this form and we'll have to keep it just above this dialog content, because this dialog footer is inside dialog content. So I will keep it here after this dialog header. All right, and I will just cut it from here and I will keep it just after this dialog footer. So now we have wrapped this submit button inside the form element. Now if we'll come to the browser and if we'll try to submit, yes, on submit we are getting that submit handler data. If we'll fill up the category description, if we'll select the file and if we'll save, yes, on submit we are getting that data. Now for the image, we are not getting that file object. This is rendering some path here. Okay, so let's check that. So inside the type file, we have to set the target.files instead of target.value. So we will have target.files. If it is there, then this will set the 0th index file, else it will be null. Okay, I will just set this to type file because this is type file only. Now if we'll check the browser and if we'll just refresh and if we'll try to select any file now and if we'll submit, yes, now in the file we are getting that file object. So now we are ready to submit the form. So let's define the submit functionality. So inside the index component, here we'll use the post route. So we'll use post, and inside this I will just pass the route function as categories.store. Okay, and in the next parameter I will just define on success and I will capture the success response from server side. So I will just define response here and I will just console that response. Also I will just define on error. If it is error, then I will just console that. That's all. Now let's navigate to the controller now. So we have this category controller. Here we have this store function. So firstly we'll have to validate the data. So I'll navigate to the terminal and I will create one form request using make request command. This will be category request. Now let's define the roles inside that category form request. So inside the request, category request, let's authorize this and let's define the rules like name. This will be required string and this slug is not needed from here. Description, this is also required. Image will be nullable by default. So this is done. Now let's come to the controller and let's inject that category request and let's import it here. Alright, this category request has been imported. Inside this, firstly we will have to handle the file. So I will just use try catch block first and will return redirect back with error failed to create category. That's all. Now inside the try block, firstly I will just check if request has file, and inside that we have to check image. If request file contains image, then we have to store the image. So I will store this in storage folder. Inside that we will have this categories and let's define this image path just above this and we don't need this else condition. I will change this to category image path. That's all. And here I will just use modal create function. Inside this array I will just pass the name and this will be request name slug and we will have to generate the slug from str slug, and this str is helper, so we'll have to import it from illuminate support str. Inside this I will pass request name. Next we have the description, and lastly we have this category image path. That's all. Let's capture this in a variable category, and we'll check if category has been created. Then I will just redirect to the route as category.index with success message as category created successfully. For the else part, if category is not created, then I will just redirect back with error as unable to create category. Please try again. Now we'll have to import the exception class from exception. This is done. Okay. Now let's come to the model form, and we will have to handle the validation error messages. So for that we will have to capture the errors prop here. So from the index component we have to pass this errors as errors. Okay, and let's capture this here after the set data errors. Okay, let's define it here errors, and this will be string. And for displaying the errors we will use the input error component, so that will be our common. So after these all input, here inside this div I will call input error component and will pass the message props, and this will be from errors, and will capture the name field from the field.name, just like this. So in the errors, that will return the name attribute belonging to that field validation error, and we have to extract it by passing the name field dynamically. So this is form validation error. Now let's come to the browser. Let's refresh. Let's click on add category, and let's try to submit this form without filling it up. Yes, on submit, this has thrown the validation error as name. And for the description, because this image is optional, so we have not set the required field validation. Now let's submit this form. So I will just create one category name just like electronics, and I will select one image, and I will just select this laptop image. I'll click on save, and yes, the form has been submitted. And in the success response we got these all attributes. Inside this we have the props and we have the flash. Okay, so in the flash we got this success as category created successfully, but this form has not reset and this model is not closed. Okay, so that we will have to handle it here, and after submitting the form we can see this listing has been updated automatically. So now in the next step we will just handle this add category pop-up. So after submitting the form, this should be closed automatically and this entire form field should be reset. So let's navigate to the code editor, and inside this index component I will define one function as const close model, and inside this I will just reset the form fields, and also I will just close that model. So the model component supports the props just like open. So if we'll set the open to true and false, so based on that model will be operated. If we'll come to this dialog, if we'll navigate to this actual component, and if we'll search for open, here we have the state as open and closed. Okay, So we can manage it using the props. So firstly, what I will do, I will just pass one props here as open, and if we'll set this to true by default, and if we'll come to the browser and if we'll refresh it even, we can see this model is triggered without clicking on add category button. So by using this way, we will manage this using the property, and I will just capture one more props as open, and I will just pass one event as on open change. So this model supports on open change event, and we'll have to set this open to true or false. So we'll change this method to on open change, and this will have model. So this will be helpful for toggling this model. Now let's capture this props here as open. Next we will have on open change, and let's define this property here. This open will be boolean. Next we will have this on open change, and again this will take one parameter as open, that means boolean, and this will return the void. This is done. So at the first time this button will trigger the model, but now the another like close, that we will handle it through event only, that means open or close. So let's come to the index component now, and here after this handle submit, I will just set this open props and that on open change props. So I will just define one state as model open. I'll copy this, and here I'll just define one state as const model open and set model open, and I will import it from React, and I will just define this set model open to false here, and I will just call this close model function after submitting the form. So here I'll just call this function close model. Okay, this is for closing model. Now regarding this on open change, this will be needed for managing the view and edit functionality on the same model, because currently if we click on view and edit, that time I just want to open that same model and on which I just want to populate the category data. So for that we will be using this on open change, and here I'll just define one method as handle model toggle. I'll copy this function, and here I'll just define it. Inside this will capture one parameter as boolean. So by default this will set that parameter, and if we'll check if it is not open, then I will reset the input field by default, so that when we will switch between view, edit and create, by default this will reset the input fields. Now let's navigate to the browser, let's refresh, and let's try to create one more category, laptop. I will select image, I will click on save. Yes, on save we can see that model has been closed and this data has been refreshed automatically, and again if we will click on add category, this form has been reset automatically. So this worked. Now we have to work on the view, edit and delete functionality. So if we'll click on view, we just want to open the same model. So for that we will have to manage it from the listing component. So we have this custom table component, inside that we have this category table config.actions button. So in the last video we created this custom table component in order to reuse the table component. So if we'll navigate inside that, here I will just check one more condition. If action dot label is view. Then I will return the same button component, but here I just want to pass on click event as on view. Okay, and on view I will pass the entire row just like this, and I will just use on view dot row. Let's copy and add it for edit as well. Let's change this to edit, and I will define one more method as on edit. This is for view only. Now let's define these two props here as on view and on edit. And also we can pass one more property in order to just differentiate, like this view and edit action should be triggered in a model or in a new window. That means this stable component is reusable, so this we can reuse for other purposes, just like if we want to perform view and edit actions in a different pages, just like we covered up that in the last video. Okay, so for that we can just differentiate it by passing one more props. So I will just set it just like is model. Okay, so let's define these three. So firstly I will define on view, this will be row, next on edit and is model, and I will just check one condition. If is model, so these actions like view and edit will be working for the model only. Rest, if it is not model, then this will be working like normal component, and from here it will be operated. That's all. Now let's come to the index component, and let's pass one more props as on view. Inside this we will capture the category, and we will call the open model function, because on view I just want to open the model, and inside that open model function I will pass the category data. So firstly I will pass the mode as view so that we can differentiate that, and I will pass the category. Same thing for on edit, and is model is true. Now let's define this open model function here. Const open model, and this will just check if we have mode like edit or view. So we'll define the mode here, and this will be like create, view or edit, and this category will be any. Firstly I will just define one state just to check if the current mode is create or edit. So I will define one more state variable here as const mode set mode, and by default this will be create. Okay, and this will contain the value like create, view and edit. Now I'll copy this set mode, and here I will just set mode, and this will set the current mode. So we'll have to differentiate just like create, view, edit. Okay, now next we have to set model open to true here, so that this will open the model. If we come to the browser and if we refresh, and if we try to click on view, yes, on view we are able to open that model. Also on edit we are able to open that model, but after opening the model we have to populate that particular row data over the form. So let's render that. So firstly what we will do, we will have to render the category data, and we will have to set those data in the state that is data. So firstly I'll check if we have category, then I will just use object dot keys. Okay, and I will render that. So I will use object dot keys category dot for each, and we have the key and value. Now inside this I will check if key not equals to image, because on the data I just don't want to render the image, because the image won't be displaying again in this input type file, right? Only we have to render the data, just like if it is category name, then this will be displayed in this category input. Same thing for the description, or else if we have other input fields, then we will have to render those data over that. But regarding the image, again this won't be rendered on that, because it won't be set the preview mode. So for that we will have to render that in image element. So I'll come to this part later. So here I will just use set data, and from here we'll just pass the key, and we'll have to define the props type. So I will use key as key of type of data, and this will be value. So I will just use value as string, else it will be null. And here we'll have to change this to array in order to extract this. Okay, this is done. Now after this we'll have to set the selected category data in order to populate that for the view or edit mode. So I will just define one more state as selected category. So here I will just define const selected category set selected category, and this I will set it as user state, and this will be type of any and null. So from there I'll just set that selected category, and I will just pass the current row category data. This is done. Also for the image preview I will just define one more state as set preview image. So I will just use preview image, and this will be type of string, and inside that I will just set the preview image, and this will be from category dot image. Now if category is not there, then I will use else part. So I will just reset that form, and we will have to reset that selected category on create mode. So if model is not opened, that means by default it is in create mode. So from here we'll have to set the selected category to null, and also we'll set the mode to create, and also we can set the preview image to null. So this is done. Now same thing we'll have to add it for the close model as well. So when we'll close the model, this will change the mode to create, preview image will be null, and set selected category will be null. Now let's come to the browser, let's refresh, let's try to click on view. Now here let's add console.log in order to check are we getting that selected category data and also that mode. Let's come to the browser, let's refresh, let's click on view. So on view we are getting that category data, okay, that selected row, and also that mode as view. We have to check the data as well. So here instead of this object.keys we will have object.entries, and I will just check the data here after this console.log data. If we'll come to the browser, if we'll refresh, if we'll try to click on view, yes, now we can say the data is populated over the form. Okay, same thing if we'll click on this laptop, yes, this is populating. On edit, yes, so the data is coming. Now based on the property like view or edit, we have to change the title and we have to disable the form fields. So let's handle that here. Let's remove this console, this is not needed. So firstly we will have to pass this mode property in the component. So after this I will just pass mode is mode, and let's capture this in the custom model component mode, and let's define this as, and we can set this to create, view or edit. Only we have 3 modes, and by default we can initialize it with create. Okay, now let's add the condition. So firstly we'll add disable properties. So we'll add disabled if it is processing or mode equals to view. The same thing I will add it for other fields here. Okay, now I'll come to the browser, and if you try to click on view, yes, the form fields are disabled, and we'll have to change the category title, so that we will handle it from index component. We are passing title here. So firstly we'll check if mode is view, then we'll add title as view category, else mode is edit. I will just change the category to edit, else by default it will be create. So this has updated, edit, or we'll change this to update category. So on edit this form is enabled, and on view this form is disabled. Now on view mode we don't need this save category button, so we will have to hide it here. So for the submit I will just add one condition, if mode not equals view, and we don't have to check this button key here, that will return that button automatically. If we'll check, yes, that submit button has gone. If we'll click on edit, yes, this is displaying properly. Now on view mode we have to display that preview image here, and we don't have to show this file input, so we'll have to handle it here. If this field type is file, and here I will add one more condition, mode not equals view, then only I will just display this input, and we'll have to add one div here. So I will add div, and if it is view mode then we have to display the image in the preview mode. So I will just pass one class as class name space y of 2, and I will just keep it inside this div only, and here I will just use one more condition, if mode is view then we have to display that image in the image element, but we have to display that for edit as well. So simply I'll just check if mode not equals create. Okay, then I will just use image src element. Inside this we have to display that image. So firstly we'll have to pass that preview image as a props from here, because here we have set that in a state setting image preview. So we will have to use preview image state here. Okay, and we have passed it. Let's capture that first. Let's define that type as preview image. This will be type of a string or null. So we have defined that, and here we'll pass the image src. Okay, and we'll check if mode not equals create, and we have preview image, then this will display that, and in the alt attribute will display that field name data dot field name field dot key. We can pass any class here in order to set the height or width. If we'll check, yes, this is displaying the image. On edit, yes, this is coming properly. So this is our existing image, and while updating we can change this image. So we can set classes as well, just like class name. I will set height as 32, width 32, rounded, and I will set this to object cover, just like this. Yes, this is fine. And this is throwing one warning because we already added condition. If mode is not view, then we don't need this condition here. This is file input. This is for image preview only. This is done. Now we have to work on update functionality. So when we'll click on this edit and this save, we have to update this data. So firstly we'll have to handle that in the handle submit, because we have a single handle submit here. So currently this is for create mode only. That means this is triggering post route, and this method is categories.store. So we have to check if condition, if mode is edit, okay, and this will be for else part if mode is create. So for the edit part, we have to submit the form using the post route itself, but that will be submitted on different route, that is categories.update, okay, just like this. So we have changed this route to categories.update, and also we have to pass the selected category as well that we have already set in state from here, because while updating we need to identify that particular category row, okay. And here I will just force this form data to true, and in the state I will just define one more key as method, and by default this will be post. But while updating we'll change this method to put. So here in edit mode I will just add one more condition. If mode is edit and we have this selected category, then I will change the data dot method to put, okay. Now if we'll come to the controller, here in update method, firstly we'll change this request to category request, so this will validate the form, okay. And again we'll copy this entire code snippet from here and I will paste it here. So now while updating this, we don't need this category create, instead we will be using eloquent. So I will just use category name, and this will be coming from this request name. So let me quickly update this. And regarding this image, firstly we'll check if we have category image path, then only we will update this image. And let's save this category here. That's all. Let's update the message as category updated successfully, unable to update category, and this is failed to update category. So this is done. Now let's come to the browser. Let's refresh and let's try to click on edit for this second row, that is laptop, and I will just update this laptop description, laptop category. I will change this image to different image, just like this HP. So we have chosen this HP laptop image. I'll click on save, and yes, on update we can see the category, description and the image have been updated. Now in the next step we will be working on the toast notification. So as of now, we saw that on create and update, we could not see any success notification here, only the record have been updated. So for that, we will have to implement the ShadCN UI toaster component. So if we navigate to the ShadCN UI component, inside this we have the toast. So we have to show this kind of toaster, but unfortunately this toast component has been deprecated in the ShadCN UI. So this suggests to install this sonar component. This is also same like toaster. So we have to use this, and firstly we'll have to install this sonar component. Currently, if we'll come to the code editor and if we'll search for the package.json, inside this we don't have sonar and even toast. Okay, so let's install that sonar using this command. So I'll be installing using the npm. I will copy this command, and here in the terminal I will install this. And by default it is asking how would you like to proceed, using force or legacy peer dips. I will use force, and this is installing the dependencies, and yes, the dependency has been installed. And if we'll search for the sonar, yes, we have the sonar 2.0. so now we can use the toaster component in our project. So in order to use the toaster component, what I will do, again I will create one reusable component. So inside resources JS components, I will create one more component as custom toast.tsx, and inside this I will just export const custom toast. Okay, and I will return toaster, and this toaster will be from UI sonar. So if we will navigate to the UI folder, here this has installed sonar, and from this sonar this is returning toaster. Okay, so we have imported this toaster from here, and here we can pass the props as position, and this I will set it as top right. And also we can set the duration properties for how long this will be visible. So I will set this to 4000, that is 4000 millisecond. And also we can pass rich colors property, and we can import it from @/sonar. And apart from this toaster, we have to import toast as well in order to fire that toast. So if we'll check in the usage, we have to import this toast from sonar as well, and while firing up this toast we have to use toast function, so that we will export it from here itself. So firstly we'll import toast from sonar, and I will just export toast. Okay, this is done. Now I will navigate to the index component, custom toast from components. Okay, and also we have to import toast as well. So firstly we have to call this component in our index component. So at the top here I'll just call that component. So after this head I will just call that custom toast. Let's update this title to categories. So we have called that custom toast component, and on actions we have to fire that toast. So we have to get the success response on update, store, and also on delete. So we have the delete handler here. We'll check this. Firstly we'll implement this for create and update. So on update we have to capture the response from here, or at the top we already used this use page hook in order to capture the flash message. So here I'll just console this and we'll check are we able to get that flash message. First time this is null. On edit, if I'll update it, yeah, flash message is category updated successfully. So we are getting the flash message. Also we'll check on create. I will create one more category, earbuds, and I will select this image. I will click on save, and yes, we are getting that flash message as category created successfully. So better we can get the flash message from here, and based on this we'll just pop that toaster. So I will just use toast dot success and will pass the flash message. Okay, and for the error, here we will trigger toast dot error because this supports toast success info warning error custom and these all properties. So based on that we can handle this. So we have defined this toast error, and also I will set this for create and this for error. This is done. Now after deleting this, here I will just fire up this toast. This is done. Let me remove this console, and here we have to get the route on which we want to trigger this. So I will just pass delete route here. So this handle delete is coming from this props, and I guess we have passed that route as well. So if we'll check on delete, okay, we are passing the route as well, so that will work. So we can keep it route here as it was, so that will submit on dynamic route. And this first parameter is not needed because in the route itself we are passing that route along with that category ID. So if we'll check the table component, yes, here we are passing the route along with that row ID. So let's update this here. This is done. Now let's come to the browser. Let's refresh, and firstly let's try to click on edit. I will update it. On update, but we could not see that message here. Let me check that. I will just console the message here, flash message. I will click on update now. Yes, now we are getting that. If we'll refresh, if we'll click on update, first time it is giving null. Okay, so here we have the issue, but on the second time we are getting that. So better what we will do, instead of capturing this using the page props, I will capture it directly from this response here. So I will just define one more variable as response and error, and here at the real time we'll capture that flash message. So I will create one variable as const success message, and this I will capture it from response dot props dot flash dot success. Else I will define one static message as category updated successfully, and for this we will have to define the props type as flash props. This will be props, and let's copy this flash props and let's define it here. This has success and error. Okay, now let's handle this, and we'll have to extend this flash props extends records, and this will have string and any. Actually this will be record. Okay, just like this. Yes, so the error has gone, and let's pass this message here. And regarding the error, I will define it just like record, and this will be type of string. and let's capture this error message using const error message using error dot flash message. Okay, and let's add it here. Now let's copy the same, let's add it here. This is category created successfully, and for the error as well, fail to create category, and the same thing I will add it for delete.
It's 6 o'clock.
So here we'll use on success, category deleted successfully, and also I will add for on error, failed to delete category. This is done. Now let's check this, let's refresh, let's update this. Yes, on update we are getting that message in the real time. Also, if you try to delete, this is saying route not found because we have to change the route to categories.destroy. So we'll navigate to the category table ts, and here we'll have to change this route to categories.destroy, and for these are not needed. Okay, this is done. Also we'll have to handle that in the controller because we have not added that delete functionality here. So let's add this. If we have category, then only this will delete and this will return that success message. Okay, this is done. Let's check now. Let's try to delete this first. Yes, that category has been deleted and this message is coming dynamically from here. Okay, this is done. So this is working properly. Now we have to check one more thing, like when we opened the model, and if we'll click just outside this model is getting closed. Same thing in the view mode and in the edit mode. So we have to prevent that, and we have to just close the model when it is closed by this cancel or this cancel button. Okay, so for that we have to set one property in the custom model component. So inside this dialog content we'll add one event as on interact outside. We have to prevent that, so we'll use event.prevent default, and from here we can increase the width of that model by adding the width property. We can set this to 600, 700 something. Okay, just like this. So based on this you can increase that. All right, now if we'll try to click outside, we can see this model is not closing now. Okay, so this is working properly. This said failed to update category because we have selected different image, and if the form is not submitted, then we don't have to close that model. So we can set that inside the index component. For the error, we don't have to close that model. Okay, just like this. So if we'll click, yes, this time the category has been updated. Now let's try to change the image to this. Yes, this has been updated successfully. Now you can map this date that we already saw in the previous video, so I'm not going to cover again here. Okay, and that's it for the today's video. We have successfully built a complete CRUD system using Laravel 12, React and Inertia.js, but this time with a modern touch. We implemented pop-up models for a smoother user experience. We created reusable components to keep our code clean and toast message to give instant feedback. If you followed along till the end, amazing job, and let me know in the comments what features you would like to see in the next video. And also don't forget to like, subscribe and share if this video helped you out. I will see you in the next video. Until then, keep building awesome stuff.